Beloved, listen carefully. Many people today are trapped in sickness and poverty, not because God wants them to be, but because they have not yet learned the divine principles of healing and prosperity. God never created you to live in lack, weakness, or fear. He created you to live in abundance, strength, and divine health. But to rise above sickness and poverty, you must first renew your mind and align your spirit with the promises of God. Sickness and poverty are not your destiny. You were created to live in divine health and supernatural provision. Change your inner vision, speak faith, live by the word. Give with joy, surround yourself with faith, and pray like a victor, not a victim. When your faith rises, your circumstances bow. When your heart believes, your body heals. When your spirit gives, your life overflows. Today, rise up and declare, I am free from sickness. I am free from poverty. I walk in divine health and supernatural abundance from this day forward. Before anything in your life changes on the outside, transformation must begin on the inside. The greatest battle for healing and abundance is not fought in hospitals or workplaces. It is fought in the mind. What you continually picture within yourself will eventually manifest in your world. If the inner picture you hold is one of defeat, failure, sickness, or poverty, then your reality will reflect those images like a mirror reflecting your thoughts. But if you begin to see yourself the way God sees you, strong, healthy, blessed, and full of purpose, then your outer world will start to align with that divine vision. Many people pray for change yet remain imprisoned by the images that dominate their inner life. They read promises of health and prosperity but still see themselves as victims of circumstance. Their minds replay memories of loss, rejection, and failure until these pictures take root deep within the heart. The truth is that you cannot rise higher than the image you hold of yourself. The picture within determines the life without. If you constantly meditate on weakness, your body will respond with fatigue. If you constantly focus on lack, opportunities will seem to vanish. But when you renew your inner vision, when you begin to picture yourself walking in health, working in abundance, and living in peace, a divine shift begins to happen. Everything God creates begins first as a vision. Before there was light, He saw light. Before there was man, He saw man. The unseen always precedes the seen. That same creative principle is alive in you today. The imagination is not a toy of the mind. It is a workshop of the spirit. What you consistently imagine, especially when fueled by faith, will eventually take form. This is why it is so important to close your eyes each day and see yourself healed, whole, and overflowing with divine provision. Visualize yourself free from pain. Picture your hands working productively, your body full of energy, your home filled with peace. These inner pictures build faith. They are the blueprint of your future. When your mind is filled with negative images, your faith cannot grow. You cannot expect victory while seeing defeat. The mind is like soil. It will grow whatever seed you plant in it. If you plant seeds of sickness, you will reap sickness. If you plant seeds of poverty, you will reap lack. But if you plant seeds of health, prosperity, and joy, you will reap a harvest of blessing. You must uproot the weeds of fear, doubt, and failure that have taken root through years of wrong thinking. Replace them with the living Word of God, which paints a new picture of who you are. This inner transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires consistency, patience, and faith. Each morning, before facing the world, take time to speak life over yourself. Say, I am healthy, I am strong, I am favored, I am blessed. Repeat these words until they are no longer just sounds coming from your mouth, but truths flowing from your heart. The more you declare it, the more your subconscious accepts it, and the more your life will reflect it. Your words feed your imagination feeds your reality. The world may tell you that you are limited by your background, education, or past mistakes, but heaven tells you that you are unlimited by faith. When you begin to see yourself as a child of divine abundance, sickness and poverty lose their grip. They cannot dwell where vision and faith are alive. Every healing begins with an inner vision of wellness. Every breakthrough begins with an inner picture of victory. You must choose which picture you will allow to live in your mind, the one painted by fear or the one designed by faith. So guard your inner life carefully. What you watch, listen to, and think about are all brushstrokes painting your future. Refuse to dwell on images of failure or sickness. Fill your mind with pictures of health, success, and joy. The moment your inner picture changes, your reality begins to follow. See it, believe it, and walk in it. Your words are the steering wheel of your life, guiding every direction you take, whether toward healing and abundance or toward sickness and lack. What you consistently speak with your mouth will eventually shape the environment around you. Every word carries power. It is either building your future or breaking it down. When you speak words of fear, doubt, or defeat, you are unconsciously giving permission for those conditions to manifest. But when you speak words of faith, hope, and confidence, you invite divine forces to work on your behalf. The tongue is small, yet it directs the course of your destiny. Many people pray for change but cancel their prayers with their own words. They say, I'm believing for healing, and in the next breath they say, but I always get sick this time of year. They declare, I'm trusting for provision, yet moments later they complain, nothing ever works out for me. Words like these create confusion in the spiritual atmosphere. You cannot speak defeat and expect victory. You cannot use the language of fear and expect to walk in faith. The words you speak are seeds, and your life is the garden. If you plant the seeds of doubt, you will harvest worry. If you plant words of faith, you will harvest miracles. Every day, you have the power to speak life or death, blessing or curse. Your body hears every word you say. When you constantly say, I'm so tired, I'm so weak, I never have enough, your body and mind begin to obey those commands. But when you say, I am strong, I am full of energy, I am provided for, your cells respond, your spirit lifts, and heaven aligns with your confession. Faith begins where words agree with the promises of God. The more you speak them, the more they become real in your consciousness. The universe responds to sound. From the beginning of creation, everything came into being through the spoken word. God said, let there be light, and there was light. The same creative principle works today. When you speak words of faith, you are releasing creative power. You are declaring things that do not yet exist as though they already do. This is not fantasy, it is faith in action. Speaking the language of faith is not denying reality, it is declaring a greater reality. You may feel sick, but when you say, I am healed, you are not ignoring the symptoms, you are affirming the truth that healing already belongs to you. The problem for most people is that their mouth has not yet been trained to align with their faith. They allow emotions, circumstances, and other people's opinions to dictate what they say. But a person who walks by faith learns to speak differently. Even in the storm, they declare peace. Even in shortage, they declare abundance. Even when their body feels weak, they speak strength. These words are not empty affirmations. They are spiritual decrees that carry power. Faith-filled words create a pathway for miracles to manifest. It takes discipline to change the language of your life. You must become aware of what comes out of your mouth each day. If your words are filled with negativity, replace them with truth. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, say, I'm believing for provision. Instead of saying, this illness runs in my family, say, healing runs in my bloodline. Speak as one who already possesses what you are believing for. Let your confession rise higher than your condition. When your words and faith agree, mountains move. The reason many people stay stuck is because they speak one thing and believe another. You must bring your mouth and your heart into alignment. When faith fills your heart and your words echo that faith, nothing can stop what is coming. Speak healing until your body obeys. Speak abundance until lack disappears. Speak victory until every trace of defeat is gone. The world around you will begin to mirror the world within you. Your tongue can build the bridge from where you are to where you are meant to be. Speak as a creator, not a complainer, and watch your life transform one word at a time. The Word of God is the most powerful medicine for both the body and the soul. It is not just a book of ancient writings, it is living, active, and filled with creative energy that can transform every part of your life. When you allow the Word to enter your heart, it begins to renew your thinking, strengthen your faith, and release divine power into your circumstances. Sickness and poverty cannot stand in the presence of a mind that is filled with truth. The more you feed on the Word, the more your spirit begins to rise above the limitations of the natural world. Faith is born not through wishful thinking, but through hearing the Word again and again until it becomes a part of your very being. Many people treat the Word casually, reading it occasionally or listening passively, but the Word is not meant to be a visitor. It must become the permanent resident of your heart. When you meditate on it daily, it rewires your thoughts and reprograms your beliefs. It takes root deep inside, replacing fear with confidence and weakness with strength. Every time you read or listen to the Word, you are feeding your spirit with spiritual nutrition. Just as the body cannot survive without food, your spirit cannot grow strong without the continual intake of divine truth. There is a supernatural connection between what you believe and what you experience. When the Word fills your heart, faith begins to rise naturally. Faith is not something you struggle to produce. It is the natural response of a heart saturated with truth. The word renews your perspective, showing you that sickness is not your inheritance and poverty is not your destiny. It reveals that you were designed for health, abundance, and peace. When your mind is renewed by the word, your decisions change, your emotions stabilize, and your environment begins to reflect divine order. The word also acts as a mirror. It shows you who you truly are in the eyes of God. The world may call you weak, unworthy, or limited, but the word declares you healed, blessed, and more than a conqueror. Every time you open it, you are reminded of your divine identity. The more you look into that mirror, the clearer your true image becomes. Soon, you stop identifying with sickness and start identifying with health. You stop identifying with lack and start identifying with abundance. Transformation begins when you start believing what the word says more than what your circumstances say. There is power in repetition. The word must be heard, spoken, and meditated upon continually. When you hear it once, it informs you. When you hear it repeatedly, it transforms you. You must let it dominate your thoughts until it becomes your automatic response to every challenge. When symptoms appear, instead of fear, your heart immediately responds, "By His stripes I am healed." When a financial challenge arises, your spirit declares, "My God supplies all my needs." That is when the word has truly taken root, when it speaks through you without effort. Many people desire miracles, but miracles are born out of the word. When the word dwells richly within you, it becomes a living force that activates heaven's power in your life. It brings light where there is darkness and hope where there is despair. The word carries divine energy that restores cells, mends broken hearts, and attracts divine opportunities. It has the power to heal not only your body, but also your mind and your finances. The more you meditate on it, the more its life flows through you. To fill your heart with the word is to fill your life with power. It creates a foundation that cannot be shaken by sickness or scarcity. When the word becomes your daily bread, faith becomes your natural language. And when faith becomes your language, nothing becomes impossible. So let the word dwell richly within you until every thought, every word, and every action flows from the truth that you are already healed, already blessed, and already walking in divine abundance. One of the greatest secrets to breaking free from sickness and poverty is learning the divine principle of giving and gratitude. Many people pray for abundance but hold tightly to what little they have, fearing there won't be enough. Yet true prosperity begins not with what is in your hand but with what is in your heart. The act of giving releases spiritual energy that attracts increase. When you give, you demonstrate trust that your source is greater than your supply. You are declaring that your provision does not come from the world, but from a divine source that never runs dry. Every seed you plant carries the potential for multiplication. Just as a farmer must release his seed into the ground before he can expect a harvest, you too must release what you have to make room for more. Holding on to your resources in fear keeps them from multiplying. But when you give with faith and love, the divine law of sowing and reaping begins to operate in your favor. Giving is not losing, it is investing into your future. It is an act of faith that says, "I trust that as I bless others, blessings will return to me multiplied." The heart of giving is not in the amount, but in the attitude. Even the smallest offering, when given with faith and love, carries supernatural weight. The divine system measures not what you give, but the spirit in which you give it. A generous heart opens doors that money alone cannot open. When you give freely, you create an atmosphere of abundance around you. You become a channel through which divine provision flows. Instead of being a reservoir that hoards, you become a river that refreshes others. And in doing so, you are continually replenished. Gratitude is the companion of giving. It multiplies what you already have. When you thank God for the little, you prepare the way for the much. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present, and that awareness invites more blessings into your life. Many live in scarcity not because they lack resources, but because they lack thankfulness. Complaining blocks blessings, thanksgiving unlocks them. When your heart is filled with gratitude, even in difficult times, you are telling heaven that you trust its timing and goodness. There is also healing power in giving and gratitude. A thankful heart releases peace and joy into your body, which strengthens your immune system and renews your energy. Bitterness, greed, and fear create stress, but generosity and gratitude release life. People who give joyfully and live gratefully often walk in greater health because they carry an inner sense of freedom and peace. Sickness and poverty thrive in a spirit of worry, but they lose their power in a spirit of thankfulness. Giving also connects you to others in ways that transform both hearts and communities. When you give to someone in need, you become an extension of divine love. You turn faith into action. Every time you bless another person, you are sowing a seed of kindness that will return to you in unexpected ways. The same applies to gratitude. When you express appreciation to others, you strengthen the bond of love that keeps blessings circulating in your life. True prosperity is not about accumulation, but circulation. What flows out must come back. The more you give, the more space you create for new blessings to enter. This is a divine principle that never fails, even in times of lack. Keep giving. Your giving is the key that unlocks abundance. And keep thanking. Your gratitude is the magnet that attracts more to be thankful for. When you live in the rhythm of giving and gratitude, sickness loses its grip and poverty loses its hold, because you are now connected to the endless flow of divine provision. The people you surround yourself with have a powerful influence on your faith, your mindset, and the direction of your life. No one can rise above the environment they consistently live in. You can have great potential, strong dreams, and divine promises, but if you spend your time with people who speak doubt, complain about everything, and constantly expect the worst, their energy will drain your faith. Faith cannot grow in an atmosphere of unbelief. Just as plants need sunlight and water to flourish, your spirit needs encouragement and faith-filled words to thrive. You must intentionally build an environment that nourishes your faith instead of weakening it. When you walk closely with people who speak fear, your heart begins to absorb their words. Their doubts slowly become your own. You may start to question your vision, your healing, or your ability to prosper. But when you walk with those who speak life, something begins to shift inside you. Their faith ignites your faith. Their victories remind you that God is still working. Their confidence becomes contagious. This is why you must choose your inner circle carefully. The company you keep today determines the strength of your faith tomorrow. There are people who lift you and there are people who limit you. Some conversations pull you closer to your destiny, while others pull you away from it. A wise person discerns the difference. You cannot expect to live a victorious life while keeping close fellowship with those who constantly speak defeat. Your ears are gates to your soul, and what you allow through them shapes your inner world. If you keep hearing words like, "It's impossible," "It will never happen," or "You can't change," those statements begin to form barriers in your mind. But if you surround yourself with people who say, "You can do it," "God is faithful," and keep believing, those words become wings that lift your spirit higher. Even in moments of weakness or discouragement, the right people can become instruments of strength. One word of encouragement spoken at the right time can revive your faith and keep you moving forward. Faith-filled friends pray with you, not just for you. They don't remind you of your limitations, they remind you of God's promises. They don't gossip about problems, they speak solutions rooted in faith. Their presence alone becomes a source of light when your world feels dark. It's also important to realize that isolation is dangerous to faith. When you go through hardship, the natural tendency is to pull away from people and face it alone, but faith was never meant to survive in isolation. You need the warmth of a faith community, people who can believe with you when your own strength feels small. There is power in agreement. When two or more people unite in faith and prayer, the atmosphere changes. Healing becomes stronger, provision flows faster, and breakthroughs manifest sooner. Your connection to faith-filled people can determine the speed of your miracle. At times, separating from certain relationships will be necessary. Not because you are better than anyone, but because you are guarding what God has planted in your heart. When you are building a life of healing, prosperity, and peace, you cannot afford to allow negative voices to dominate your space. Choose companions who inspire, not those who drain. Walk with people who talk about possibilities, not impossibilities. When your faith begins to fade, their faith will carry you. And when theirs grows weak, yours will lift them. That is how divine relationships work. They build each other up until both stand strong. Every great movement of faith in history began with people who believed together. They surrounded themselves with others who shared a vision of victory. You are never meant to fight life's battles alone. Surround yourself with believers, dreamers, and encouragers who remind you daily that nothing is impossible. Together you will rise above sickness, overcome poverty, and walk in the fullness of the divine promises prepared for you. Prayer is not an act of desperation, but a declaration of faith. When you come before God, you are not coming as a beggar hoping to be noticed. You are coming as a child who already has access to everything the Father owns. The way you pray determines the way you live. If you pray with fear, you strengthen fear. But if you pray with faith, you release divine power. Prayer is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It connects your needs on earth with the resources of heaven. Every time you pray, you are inviting the supernatural to intervene in the natural. Many people pray, but few truly believe that what they pray for will happen. They speak words that sound spiritual, but their hearts are filled with doubt. Faith-filled prayer is different. It is confident, bold, and expectant. It believes that what is unseen is more real than what is seen. When you pray in faith, you are not trying to convince God to act. You are aligning yourself with His already settled promises. Faith does not beg, faith receives. It speaks to mountains and expects them to move. It declares victory even before the first sign of breakthrough appears. After prayer comes action. Faith is not complete until it moves. It is not enough to believe in your heart. You must also act as though your prayer has been answered. If you pray for healing, start speaking and behaving like a healed person. If you pray for provision, start planning and walking like someone who expects increase. Faith without action is like a seed left on a shelf. It holds potential but produces nothing. When you act in faith, you show heaven that you are ready for manifestation. The moment you take that first step, the spiritual world begins to respond. Prayer and action work together like two wings of the same bird. One without the other cannot fly. Some pray but never act, and some act without prayer. True power is found when both are combined. Prayer gives direction, action gives momentum. When you pray, you receive divine instruction. When you obey those instructions, miracles unfold. The more you pray, the clearer your steps become. The more you step out, the stronger your faith grows. This rhythm creates a flow of divine movement in your life. Faith-based prayer also requires persistence. Sometimes the answer does not come immediately, not because God is unwilling, but because your faith is being strengthened through endurance. Every moment of waiting refines your heart, teaching you to trust beyond sight. Persistence in prayer breaks resistance in the spiritual realm. When you keep praying with unwavering faith, you are building spiritual momentum that will eventually burst forth into manifestation. The key is to never give up, no matter how silent things seem. Heaven is never still when faith is active. When you pray with faith, your words carry authority. You are not asking from weakness, but commanding from your position of victory. You are declaring heaven's will over your circumstances. Prayer shifts your focus from the problem to the promise. It fills your heart with peace and your mind with clarity. The more you pray in faith, the less room there is for fear and confusion. Even before the answer appears, you begin to walk with assurance because you know that the answer is already on the way. Prayer also transforms the one who prays. It renews your inner strength, sharpens your spiritual vision, and aligns your desires with divine purpose. Every encounter with God in prayer leaves an imprint of His presence on your spirit. And as you act in faith, that presence becomes visible in your daily life. The combination of believing prayer and bold action is unstoppable. When you pray believing and move trusting, sickness begins to bow, lack begins to fade, and divine favor starts to flow. That is the essence of living by faith, praying with confidence, acting with courage, and walking as though the promise is already fulfilled. My beloved friends, as we come to the end of this message, remember this one unshakable truth. You were never created for sickness, and you were never destined for poverty. You were created in the image of divine strength, overflowing abundance, and radiant health. What you tolerate will continue, but what you resist in faith will eventually bow before you. The power to change your life does not lie somewhere outside of you. It lies within your spirit, in your faith, in your words, and in your vision. If you will change the way you think, speak, believe, give, and pray, you will begin to see heaven's promises unfold right before your eyes. Healing will rise in your body, provision will flow into your hands, and peace will settle in your heart. Sickness and poverty are not permanent. They are temporary shadows that vanish when the light of faith shines. Lift your eyes from your circumstances and fix them on the promise. The God who began a good work in you will surely bring it to completion. Today, make a decision to live differently. Fill your thoughts with life. Fill your words with power. Fill your actions with faith, and fill your heart with gratitude. Walk like a victor, not a victim. Stand tall in the knowledge that divine strength flows through you. Every step you take in faith is a declaration that you belong to a higher kingdom, one where sickness cannot rule and poverty cannot stay. Let this be your daily confession. I am whole, I am blessed. I am walking in divine abundance and unshakable health. So rise up with renewed confidence. Speak life over your dreams. See yourself the way heaven sees you, strong, healed, prosperous, and full of purpose. Let your life become a testimony that faith still works, that hope still heals, and that divine love still provides. And as you walk this journey, never forget you are not alone. The same power that raised the sun this morning is the same power working within you right now. Thank you for sharing this moment of faith and inspiration. May your heart stay open, your mind stay renewed, and your spirit stay strong. Wherever you go, carry this truth. You are a vessel of divine health and heavenly abundance. God bless you richly. Keep believing, keep giving, keep walking by faith, and may your life shine as a living testimony of victory. Thank you for listening. Until we meet again, stay blessed, stay strong, and may divine favor follow you every step of the way.